Mary, I know what I'm gonna do tomorrow and the next day and next year and the year after that. I'm shaking the dust of this crummy little town off my feet and I'm gonna see the world.
She loves him so much. She can probably sense the uncertainty that he has, that he can't commit to her yet. And she doesn't want that to be a quick romance kind of thing. She wants it to be real, right?
What is it you want, Mary? What do you want? You want the moon? Just say the word and I'll throw a lasso around it and pull it down.
Yeah, your expression whenever I mention that,
it.
you're always so endeared by it.
Yeah, it's so cute.
I'll give you the moon, Mary.
I'll take it. Then what?
And then what? That's like the whole film is about that. It's about Mary saying, and then what? What are you going to do with the moon? What are you going to do with the big buildings?
How is that going to bring you
What's
happiness?
the point of it?
Right.
You just have it. Like, and he says you can swallow it. Like, such a childish thing to say. You can see the immaturity. And what is he wearing? He's wearing
that's true.
a high school uniform.
And he doesn't fit in it.
And he
he's so
doesn't,
small.
it's too big for him.
He's still a
He's
kid,
holding
yeah.
the pants up. Yeah, he's still a kid.
At the end of the day, even though it's grandeur and it's like, what are you going to do with the moon? It does show like he wants to give it to her. It's not for his own sake either. And maybe he wants all these big things. But he's like, I'll give it to you.
The salvific power of beauty in that moment. That is what led him to choose her and to choose the life at Bedford Falls. The intimacy of the beauty of that moment, of them being that close, that is what got him.
Only us explorers.
Having that desire to travel, he never actually got to do any of that. That's my worst fear. Taking the responsibility that's entrusted upon you, that you chose to do, and that you were right to choose, and being resentful of it.
I'm not a praying man.
He's not a praying man, but he prayed.
Yeah.
God fixed none of his problems, but he ended up with a wonderful life. What did he do? Like, what was God's answer?
There's so much depth to each scene. You can go so many ways into it. You can look at it from many angles.
Yeah,
So
and you could start anywhere.
yeah. And that's why whenever I thought, okay, let's look at every scene, it didn't work because I started watching the movie and then I started taking notes on the first scene and just pages and pages and there's just so much depth and richness. And I landed on two scenes that I wanted to talk about.
Oh wow! Oh, like you based everything on two scenes.
Yeah, that's as far as I got.
Okay, I'm gonna. Oh no! How the movie is okay?
No, you have a more broad. It's not like I didn't watch the film.
Of course, you watched the film. Yeah,
I know the film. We can still talk about the film as a whole, but whenever I ended up focusing on just two scenes.
I just focused on several themes that run throughout the movie and are seen in different scenes. But that's okay. Do you have?
I think these are very key scenes that kind of speak to the rest of the film.
I like the format. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Because we were talking about how at the beginning of the film we had there seems to be so much depth because there's so much setup with the characters.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And the second half of it is more like the consequences of everything starting to kind of come about of the whole setup of the first half.
So is your first half still your favorite part of the movie?
No, I think the ending has to be I think there should be a rule that everyone's favorite part of the film should be the end.
The ending scene is my favorite. You're right, but the first half is definitely. I prefer the first half more than the second half. The ending is perfect, but like, it's so depressing. The second half, like I get so sad, and then you get uplifted at the very end. But like the first half, it's so endearing. The dialogue is perfect. Like the atmosphere created by the movie is just like it's so deep and so beautiful that's
you want to be in that world.
You want to be in that world. Yeah.
You want to be you get nostalgic for a time that you don't know. It's the whole Midnight in Paris thing.
That's right. Yeah.
Life was so much better back then.
Yeah, and it's not even a time period because you could have a movie that gives you those vibes in a time period set in today. It's just.
No. I would argue some of it does have to do with the time period because I was thinking about it in the dance scene. I was looking at that scene and it was so pure and wholesome the way because now you look at school dances today.
Oh, you're right.
Any modern film that depicts like prom night is just like a mess. You don't even want to know. But with that, it was you had the principal diving into the pool whenever they jump. They were all jumping in the pool. Like, of course, we're looking at it with rose-colored glasses.
And it's also a movie.
Yes, it's not 100. Of course, there was still some stuff going on back then that was, not as pure as it would come across in the film. But I think you would argue that there was, that's at least that's what I like to think.
No, and I mean that movie is known for its romanticism of life.
Of that period in American life.
Well, it's funny that you say that because the reason it didn't do well commercially when it came out, and it didn't do good in like critically either, and it was because it was right after World War II. Mm-hmm. Both the actor and the director, the main actor and the director, had just come off actually fighting in World War II. And everyone was very cynical. It was a very cynical time in American history, and they made that movie that was completely the opposite of cynical. And it was just not the time for that movie to be received well.
Or maybe it was the perfect time.
Well, you could argue that, but they didn't feel that at the time. Yeah. No one felt that at the time. Yeah. In fact, it kind of bombed. And it wasn't until later that the studio lost it forgot to renew the rights to the movie or something. Okay. That TV channel started airing it for free. And it became a Christmas classic because of that.
When I see that quality of film, I think that was a masterpiece, and it was a commercial success from the moment. That's what I thought.
No, it should have been. And I think it was because it came right after World War II. That.
Or maybe there was just so many masterpieces in those times.
I don't think that was
what people call the 1950s, the golden the golden decade of Hollywood. There were so many great films coming out, you know.
But no, that goes into what I was saying last video. That you don't always recognize the gemstones that are in today's works of art because only the really good ones will continue into the future. And you could overlook things that, like right now, we might be overlooking some really good art that will be recognized in the future.
Yeah.
I guess that when I was saying that, I was trying to back up the art that we're consuming and creating now.
And do you remember what I said to
that we're still products of the culture. And if the culture is better, it'll produce better art.
And that kind of ties into what we were just saying about how it seemed like the culture was in a healthier state back then. So there was more beautiful art, like the dance scene, the whole thing we were talking about.
I guess what I was saying to counteract that point, which I don't need to because you're kind of right, but it didn't feel like that to the people creating it and making it because they had just come out of a very deadly war and everyone was very cynical and depressed. So it might not have felt like a good time like that they wouldn't have thought, oh, this will be the good old days, right after World War II, like but it's funny to look at it like that now. It's kind of actually really funny because right now we live in unprecedented peace, at least in the US. Most of maybe not most of the world, but some of the world. So
the Western world.
The Western world.
It reminded me that the fact that it was it was kind of a hidden, it wasn't out in the conversation, I guess, when it came out. It reminded me of the story itself. It actually, Frank Capra, the director, he took the story from a short story. Did you know this?
I did.
And the story wasn't even published.
Yeah. He never found anyone that wanted to publish it. He just sent it to his friends.
Yeah, he sent it to his friends, and somehow Frank Capra got to it, and then he made the film about it.
He had his own production company, and this was the first movie that was produced with that production company, Frank Capra.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
I think they might have even created it to make this movie. That might be wrong. Fact check me on that.
So many great artists that create these beautiful works of art, and
they go unnoticed.
Yeah.
It's kind of that's so crazy that this
film could have easily not been made, and the story was there.
And that happens so much with a lot of great movies. Like the fact that any movie gets made is a miracle, much less a good movie, much less an amazing movie that will live on past its time.
We can get to the scenes.
No, before we get to the scenes, I said something last video. I said a movie can be artistically good and morally good, and if they're both good to the highest degree, that's a perfect movie. And I said that this movie, It's a Wonderful Life, is a perfect movie. You're like, well, it's a perfect movie for us. And I'm like, no, it's a perfect movie. What do you think about that?
I did not think about this at all. Perfect. Would I classify It's a Wonderful Life as a perfect movie? I hesitate to say perfect.
Yeah, me too.
I would say, I might even say it's my favorite movie.
Okay. In that case, let's just say, okay, you're maybe too critical on the word perfect.
Okay, I guess I see what you mean.
There could be a lot of perfect movies. Yeah. Just, I'm not saying this is perfect movie.
So I think depends how you define perfect movie. I think when you say it's a perfect movie, you're saying it doesn't have it doesn't have any faults. You have to. That's the definition of perfect, right? There's no fault in It's a Wonderful Life.
Can you find a fault? I guess most faults would be subjective. I don't like the way this character acted in this scene or whatever, which you can't even do because everything was so perfect. Yeah, I think it's a perfect movie. I think maybe I have become too lenient on what I would call a perfect movie, but I'm not sure this one is one that someone would call me lenient on to be calling it a perfect movie. I think if any movie could be classified as a perfect movie, this might be it, both because of its artistic merit and its moral merit. Okay, so
I can't find anything with it. It's so cohesive. That's how it feels. So it knows what story it wants to tell.
And it tells
the
it
whole
perfectly.
thing doesn't detract, ever go.
It's so well set
somewhere
up.
it
It's so
shouldn't.
well set up from the beginning. Okay, yeah, go to your scenes. You wanted to talk about
The first scene that I was looking at that kind of really spoke to me was the walking after the dance, him and Mary.
Okay, good, cool. I love that scene. Something really funny happened when I was watching this movie for the second or third time.
Mm-hmm.
Every single scene from the beginning of the movie, I was like, "Oh, this is my favorite scene in the movie."
Yeah.
And then, like for example, the first scene that I had that with was like when little George and little Mary are at the diner, and Mary leans over. It's like,
George Bailey, I'll love you till the day I die.
I was like, that's like my favorite scene of the whole movie. It's so cute. Then I was like, that is the perfect scene, my favorite scene. And then we'll jump in time, the dinner scene with his dad. Before they start, I'm like, that's a perfect scene.
Whenever his dad told him about staying at the building alone.
Yeah. I'm like, that's beautiful. That's my favorite scene. And then it gets to that scene that you're talking about. Like, no, that's my favorite.
This scene is epic. But there's one. The second one that I looked at is a masterpiece. That scene that has
the
to be
second scene that you haven't mentioned.
Okay,
yet?
I guess I have to automatically say the ending is my favorite scene.
Oh, you did say that.
But I guess this second one I'm going to talk about is my second favorite one. So the dance scene, I actually see it beginning. I guess it begins with them singing Buffalo Gals. It was after the dance, and they're singing, walking.
Yeah.
I don't know where they're. Presumably, they're probably walking to Mary's house, right? George is walking Mary home, and they're singing. And
yeah, they are about to kiss, and the guy's like,
they're about to kiss. Yes, I almost glossed over that. Yes,
that's like that's the best.
Well. Oh, actually, there are 2 points in this scene where they're about to kiss.
That's true.
I'm talking about the first one, wherever George tries to kiss her and she rejects him. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Hands out her hand, or is that the second
She
one?
puts out her hand, and then he goes and tries to actually kiss her, and she just starts singing Buffalo Gals and leaves.
Walks away. It's so romantic.
Why does she do that?
I don't know.
Because she said, like you just said in the first scene, I'm gonna love you till the day that I die. Clearly, she's in love with him at this point. So why do you have anything? No,
I have no idea why she did that. It was just so cute. I think it's just the flirty nature of the scene. But do you have an analysis on why she might have done that?
Yeah.
Okay, please tell me, because I didn't have one.
I haven't thought about it. I think Mary is so... It's not that she doesn't love George. It's that she loves him so much.
She wants him to pursue her?
That... Well, maybe that...
Just
I think she loves him so much. No, but you're right.
She wants him to choose her. I guess what I was getting at.
I think that's great. That adds more richness to my answer.
Go say what you were going to say.
Okay. She loves him so much that she can probably sense the uncertainty that he has, that he can't commit to her yet. And she doesn't want that to be a quick romance kind of thing. She doesn't want it to just be a casual, oh, we kissed and then I left to go to college and he stayed and then went to Europe. She wants it to be real, right? Not just a spur of the moment thing.
Right.
So I think that's probably because she knew George is so immature in the whole film too. Even though you kind of see a very mature and virtuous side of him, but you also see the other side of it. And in this scene, you see his immaturity with a lot of different things.
Yeah, totally. He's a kid that grew up, but he's still very much.
Well, you can see the immaturity in what is he wearing? He's wearing a high school uniform,
and he doesn't fit in it.
Like, and he doesn't. So it's too big for him. He's holding the pants up. Yeah, he's still a kid. He's, oh,
that's perfect. Yeah, that's perfect.
And so then whenever she rejects him, that's when they come up to the house. He's like, okay, fine, I'll throw a rock at the Granville house. She's like, no, that place is full of romance. Yeah. Why is it that that also kind of confused me. Like, what's up with that? Why? It's an old abandoned house.
Why is there so much romance in that? Yeah, I don't know.
Why is she interested in that? I think maybe it's just her wanting to nurture and to build a home. Mm-hmm. That kind of appeal of it to her. And to him, it's all big, shiny buildings. He wants to build buildings, and she wants to build a home. That's kind of the whole contrast between them in this scene that I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, and home. She wants to build a home here also in this rundown.
Bedford Falls.
There.
Yeah.
He wants to go out and do something new.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah. So then he throws a rock, and she asks him what he wished for. and he says something that seems really romantic at first. He says, "Oh, Mary, I have a whole hat full of wishes. I know what I'm going to do
tomorrow and the next day and next year and a year after
that." And she's probably like waiting in anticipation, right? Like it sounds like he's going somewhere romantic. And then he says,
I'm shaking the dust of this crummy little town off my feet, and I'm going to see the world
and build big buildings and build long roads. Just these like the last thing she wants to hear.
And the last thing on his mind is what she wished for.
Yeah. So it's like, it's just you know that when people say women mature faster than men, it kind of seems like...
Yeah, that's exactly right.
That supports that. His head is in a whole other place where she is more just... She has different priorities. And then she throws the rock. She makes a wish. He asks her what her wish is. She wishes for life with him, right?
But she doesn't say that. And it does come true. And she said, if I tell you, it won't come true.
Yeah.
But he told her and it didn't come true. So she's right for her superstitions. If she had said it, maybe it wouldn't have come true.
And whenever she doesn't tell him, what does he say? He says, "What do you want, Mary?"
What is it you want, Mary? What do you want? You want the moon? Just say the word and I'll throw a lasso around it.
Do you want the moon? And then he has the moon, the whole moon. What?
That's so cute. I love that.
It's really romantic and
want
nice.
The moon, Mary?
I'll throw a lasso around it. But that also kind of speaks to his immaturity a little bit.
I saw it more as a real image of the masculine urge to provide and just get anything that she wants. Like, just say what you want. You want the moon, Mary?
Yeah.
Just say the word, I'll throw a lasso around it.
I think that's really beautiful. I think the immaturity comes after. Whenever she says, so what does she say whenever he asks her if she wants the moon? She says, "I'll take it."
I'll take it.
And then she says,
"Then what?"
And then what? And that's the most... that's like the whole film is about that. It's about Mary saying, "And then what? What are you going to do with the moon? What are you going to do with the big buildings? What are you going to do with the big roads? You just have it." Like, and he says you can swallow it.
You could swallow it. And it all dissolves, see?
It's like such a childish thing to say. That's what you have to resort to when you don't even know. And he speaks in a super...
Very confidently, though. Like, immediately he had the answer. Very cool answer, but it doesn't make any sense.
And the moonbeams that shoot out of your fingers and your toes and the ends of your hair.
No, it's childish. And he doesn't even know what he wants. He talks about, like, "I want a big buildings." What do you mean? Do you have a plan? Do you want to be an engineer? What kind of buildings? You can't build both buildings. You have to specialize in roads. So it's just like he doesn't even know what he wants.
Desire to adventure.
So it's funny that she says, "And then what?" And he says he just starts yapping about...
Oh my gosh, that's so perfect that she asked, "And then what?" Because, like, what do you want with those big ambitions that you have? Like, well, how is that going to bring you
happiness? What's the point of it?
Right. That's good.
I was thinking of, Ed Sheeran. It's so random, but it kept coming back to me, the line. There's this song that he had that I would listen to growing up. It was The Man, I think. There's this line he has: "Success is nothing if you don't have people there left to share it with." Yeah. That's kind of a lot of the theme of this. That was Potter, right? He had all the material wealth and success, but he didn't have anyone. He didn't have love.
There's so many themes I want to discuss in this, and so many characters.
Were there any other scenes that called to you?
Yes, literally all of them. That's why I wanted to, like, that's why I thought maybe we should start at the beginning, because even the first scene after, the bad CGI of God and the little angels that are just stars in the sky. After that scene, the first thing we see George do is sacrifice something from himself without even thinking twice, and he pays the price. He loses his hearing. And then the next scene that we see is him sacrifice again and disobey the physician and risk losing his job and getting hit in the ear again. To save someone else's life. We keep seeing him sacrifice over and over and over, and always he gets like beat down after the sacrifices, but he keeps doing that.
Why do you think he would do that?
That's what I was getting at. Why does anyone do what they do? Like, why does he do what he does if there's no apparent reward at the end? He so deeply wishes to be happy, and he thinks he knows what is going to make him happy, but yet he chooses constantly, time and time again, to do the opposite of that. Why?
Did you have any thoughts?
Plenty, but I don't know. What do you think?
I think he's inherently a very virtuous man, in a lot of ways, and that's what Mary saw in him. And he was very charismatic, even as a kid. But I think it was his dad. I think like father like son. Like he was just raised really well. His father was such a good example. We see him only very briefly in the film, but the little bit that we see like this makes sense why George is the way that he is.
And he so wanted his dad to stay where he was so that he didn't have that sense of responsibility trust upon him. Like whenever he died. Oh, and that's the other thing about that scene that you like so much. For George, that was like the worst night of his life. That's where like he got chained down to this town because his dad died, and all of the weight was like trust upon him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, Mary sees it as a very cute night that led to the start of his life.
I would say that was the second most thing that chained him down. The third one was after.
Yeah, there's actually a lot of little ones that keep on putting him down, but that's probably the beginning one.
Yeah.
So like he sees that as like this one moment, like just like tied my life down. He had plans. He had saved up his money. He was about to go travel and then go to college. But this one night that was very romantic, but in his head was never actually going to lead anywhere because he had his plans. And in fact, Mary actually got to go to college. So he even lost her when he got stuck at home. So he did not look at that night probably with a lot of romance after the fact. Like he saw that night as like the night that he lost everything.
Yeah.
Or at least began to lose everything. I don't know where I was going with that though.
He probably didn't even feel the loss of her though that much.
No, probably
because
not.
when he said, whenever she asked him, what did you wish for? He wanted to leave.
Yeah.
He didn't care.
Have her, yeah. He saw that as a short, like just brief romance. And it was really cute. Like when he saw her at the dance, like he still saw her as a little kid. And he's like, you're not like a kid anymore.
Yeah.
But he probably would have wished to have kept on seeing her as a kid and not have to see her as he now sees her. Because now he's like, okay, now I feel something, but I'm going to really try not to feel anything.
That's the whole thing about the kiss scene. That's my favorite, I guess, second favorite film. Because it's exactly...
Second favorite scene, not film. Continue.
Oh yeah, scene. Sorry, because of that it's him trying to not accept the fact that.
Which scene are you talking about? Because
the kiss scene, the one where he's at her house.
Okay. Yes, that's my second favorite.
That's a perfect scene.
That is a perfect scene.
It's so good.
It's like him fighting with his own desires.
Yeah. It's showing, not telling. It's beautiful storytelling.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
I love the mother yelling down, "Who are you with?" Like the mother is just so nosy, and Mary's like, "He's making mad love to me, mother."
He's making violent love to me, mother.
George.
Violent love to me, mother. That's what he said.
Yeah. She's funny. And these characters, they all had such a great sense of humor.
Yeah, it's so funny. Oh, well, that's just the perfect dialogue and the way they were delivered. We have to talk about James Stewart, right? That's his name?
The actor for
He is
George.
my favorite actor, and I've only ever seen him in this movie. Like, that is such a good performance. Every single thing he did was perfect.
Yeah.
But yeah, talk to me about that second scene.
Well, you were just talking about Mary's mom.
Yeah.
How when she found out that it was George that was at the house, she told Mary, "Tell him to get out of here."
Yeah, what is he doing here?
She doesn't want George. Mary loves George, but her mom wants her to talk with Sam Wainwright.
And her mom is right. George is not like right in that moment for her. Like the mom knows he wants to go. He's not wanting to hang around. Mary has this idea of George, like, and well,
that's not how I saw it at all. Are you sure?
Yeah, how'd you see it?
Because I saw it as Mary's mom doesn't like George because he has this building and loan job. That's like I didn't see it as her knowing that he was being irritable.
No, you're right.
So,
she saw him as like he's not going anywhere. He's stuck.
So there was such a parallel between George and Mary's mom in this scene because George valued the big flashy things like getting this job, getting the buildings. Her mom was the same. She valued Sam Wainwright because he was in New York with his job and he went to college. And George was just this guy at a small company at Bedford Falls. So they were both valuing the wrong things. Mary was the only one in that house that actually had an eye for virtue because she saw the good in George. Even as a kid, like she said she was going to love him because she saw the potential in him, just like she saw the potential at the Granville house. Like it doesn't look like much, but it's not an empty, hollow building. There's actually, you can build a home in it.
I love the resistance that George had in that scene specifically because it all been building to this. First of all, he's just wandering around and winds up there, which that's his lie that he tells her and probably believes it himself. But he knew that he was going there to see Mary, you know, like 'cause that's his intrinsic desire to find love, pulling him there, and him so badly not wanting to let himself fall in love with her because that goes against his wishes, or at least his outward wishes, to go out and travel and finally leave this place. And he's like getting pulled there by his mom's guidance, but also like he just wandered around and found himself there, and he's like struggling with himself, pacing back and forth. Yeah. And Mary's like, so have you decided? Are you gonna come in?
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I don't know.
Mary was so lovely in that scene.
Mary's just
you just felt so bad.
She's my favorite. She's probably my favorite female protagonist of all time.
Well, she kind of is the protagonist. Like, she's not actually the protagonist of this film.
I guess,
but in a way, she is the hero.
Oh, she's definitely the hero. Yeah. Oh yeah. What do you think about George? Is he a good guy?
Yeah, I think he's flawed.
Oh, he's very flawed. Yeah, but
obviously, but I think he is good, and he ends up he's redeemed. Well, he's saved by Mary, but the true heroes are the women, Mary and his mom. Because his mom was the one that pushed him to go to Mary. And speaking of what you were saying, like he just stumbled upon her house. It wasn't even, that was his second choice.
That's true.
Remember?
What was her name?
Violet.
Violet.
So what happened was his mom at Harry's party, George was super frustrated that he was going to have to stay at Bedford Falls.
Actually,
because
the scene before that is also one of my favorite scenes. When he gets off the train. Oh my gosh. Continue, though, I'm sorry.
And then he breaks him the news. Well, it's crazy. Waiting 4 years for him, only to find out that he's gonna,
heartbreaking.
So
best acting. That's probably the best moment of acting
for George.
Yeah, the realization dawning on his face as the train leaves. The train's leaving without him.
Oh.
Like he's at the train station, he turns around and then puts on his face again of like smiling and goes out into like to greet the wife. But like in his head, he just realized he just lost it again.
Yeah,
it was beautiful. So good, man. Yeah.
I didn't see the train symbolism
that was the
there.
Best one. That was like the best acting and the best, like it just hit him like a ton of bricks just like landed back on his shoulders again. All the responsibility and weight of it. That he thought he was gonna be able to shoulder with his brother, or at least pass it on and let him leave, because he gave his college money to him. Yeah, like he let him go, and then he comes back. He's like, okay, here, have the weight. Let me go now. And the brother comes back with a job and a wife.
Yeah, but to be fair, Harry did tell him, George, she spoke out of turn. Yeah. I don't have to do this job. But George knew that he had to let him.
No, and George had every opportunity at every moment. Like no one ever forced his hand. Everyone always gave him the option, which is something that makes this character so good. Like he always chose. He never had. He was
never forced.
Yeah, I mean, I keep saying that the thing was trust upon them, but it was always voluntary. He always felt like it was. Like the only choice, but he had choices.
It was the right choice. And then you get to God's providence.
Okay,
and
but before that, I interrupted you before the train scene. You were talking about
the Harry's party.
Yeah.
So his mom, so this might be a stretch, and you can tell me if it is, but there's something reminiscent in this party scene with George's mom going up to him of the wedding at Cana scene.
Oh, tell me. Okay.
In the sense that maybe it's a huge stretch, but in the sense that in both scenes, the main character's mom, I guess calling Jesus a main character is kind of crazy. But
not really though, at all.
The main character's mom asks him to do something that will change the trajectory of his life. And in the case of Jesus, well, he responded immediately. But George didn't, right? He literally went the opposite way of where she pointed him to go, to Mary's house. And he went, where did he go? He went to the city. And I think that's a beautiful depiction of whenever we are frustrated, we cope, we kind of numb ourselves from our pain, our frustrations, the frustration that he had. He went to the city to distract himself for a false good.
And when he saw the girl Violet, you see why they would never work, because there's also like that love glance that they keep giving each other, like, oh, this might be another romance that he could spark. But he tells her, let's have this adventure, let's go up to the meadows or whatever, and I don't know,
pine needles. We're gonna smell the pine needles.
He's such a romantic, and she's so thrown off by it. Like she's like, that's the last place I'd want to be seen. What are you even talking about? And he's like, okay, well, I guess not. And then he goes to the person that actually would love that, but he doesn't want that.
Well, because it would be a serious thing with Mary. It would be a marriage. With Violet, it's just like quick romance. So that's why he was, and then they all laughed at him whenever he was telling Violet. I was confused by that part. Like, where did all these people come from? And they just start laughing at George, because he says he wants to go to the mountain. But I think it's very symbolic in the sense of sin. Well, it's not that George sinned, but he was kind of flirting with it in a way. That's the implication. Sure. has negative consequences. So that's kind of a grace in itself. So then you're kind of sent back the other way to reluctantly
Begrudgingly,
to the right path. And it's because of the negative, the humiliation that he had.
The mom pointing him up the hill. There's Violet.
Yeah. It's exactly right. Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Precisely. It even looks like her.
That's George Bailey thinking about it. Deliberating.
The pine needles that he talked about he said something about smelling pine needles in the mountain. I noticed this on my second watch. What does he say whenever he's at Mary's house? It still smells like pine needles in here.
I didn't catch that.
This is the adventure. These are the pine needles. This is, yeah.
Dang it. Speaking of adventures, this movie, when I watched it again, prepping for this video for the first time, when they were little kids,
Look at here.
and George is like pulling out his magazine.
Only us explorers can get it.
It reminded me of Up, the movie, so much. And I realized it's literally the same movie. In the case of Up, both of them want to have this grand adventures. Like, they want to get out, and they never get to. Mm-hmm. They get stuck in this house, and he always, dreamed of going on his big adventure. And then at the very end of the movie, he finds this book of pictures. And it's like our adventure. And it's like the life that they've lived is that adventure.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's the exact same thing.
It's the exact same thing.
And I have this other film that is very similar.
gosh,
There's so many films with this theme that you wouldn't expect.
It's just because what makes a life extraordinary. We all want to live an extraordinary life. We all want an adventure. But we never realize when it's right in front of us. Like, this could be the extraordinary life. This could be our adventure. It's all about our perspective in it.
It's not as sexy, it's not as shiny as the buildings or as the moon, but it's real and it's love, and it means so much more.
What other movie did you say?
I'm gonna say it later because it's a curveball, and
okay.
I want to get to that.
So
later.
the mom guides him towards Mary's house, points him in the right direction.
Yeah, and then he's at Mary's house. Okay, we're leading up to the kiss scene. And he leaves, right? Mary is really kind and generous, even though he's being super bitter with her and irritable.
I didn't come here to...
What did you come here for then?
I don't know. You tell me. You're supposed to be the one that has all the answers. You tell me.
Why don't you go home?
That's where I'm going. I don't know why I came here in the first place. Good night.
Good night.
And then, but she gets to a point where she's had enough. She's like, okay, I think it's time for you to go
Throws
home.
the record. Just such a petty thing. So cute.
Well, that's after he leaves. She breaks.
Oh, not yet. So you're not talking about that yet. Then.
She breaks the vinyl record. Is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Like her heart that's broken. I just look at Symbol as like
No, of course. And it was a song playing the Buffalo guy.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. That's the past. Like, it's not happening. Breaks it.
Which is, it's funny.
So
because,
how did he get back in then? I don't remember.
So he forgot his hat.
Forgot my hat.
It's Providence.
Yeah. There's so much Providence in the whole film, but it's funny whenever she's so just upset about him leaving, and her mom in a super sweet voice, Sam Wainwright's on the phone, because the phone started to ring. So George comes back. Mary gets on the phone. She tries to make him jealous by trying to flirt with Sam. That doesn't get him. What gets him is something else, and it comes after, whenever they get on the phone, because Sam wants to talk to George as well. And there's so much. So this part of the scene is this is what makes it such a powerful scene for me, is that it's speaking of everything we've been talking about.
It's all subtext too.
Yes, and it's everything we've been talking about with beauty, the salvific power of beauty in that moment. That is what led him to choose her and to choose the life at Bedford Falls. Was that the intimacy of the beauty of that moment, of them being that close, that is what got him. Because before I had actually thought about this scene, I was just very confused by it. Like, they're mad and now they're kissing each other. Like, it just didn't make sense. Then I just like looking, I guess maybe I grew up too, and I looked at it differently, because he was that close to her, the intimacy. He could probably, her smell, her beauty, being that close to her. And she felt the same thing.
And you know what's really impressive? He was like still carrying on the conversation. I always found that, like, how are you even listening to Sam? Like, they're both like kind of like engaged, and then they get distracted because they're staring at each other. Yeah. But he continues, and he's literally presenting him with an opportunity to get out of it. It's like, I have this deal. You ready for this? And like he's here with her, and the opportunity is dropping. The phone is dropping. Like the opportunity keeps falling while he like stares at her, and he chooses to be with her instead of this opportunity with Sam.
Yeah, and in
doing so, he actually helps Sam. It's like, oh yeah, there's this factory up in whatever hill, and he's helping him out. And like as the opportunity like goes away, he's like, I want you in on this, but he doesn't let himself.
Yeah, it's the emotions in that moment led him to accept the truth. So that's Dante's thing of beauty leads you to the truth. It actually doesn't pull you away if it's rightly ordered. So then you have like Dante's friend. Remember we talked about Cavalcanti, Dante's friend, who was all about the pessimist, about like, no, love is going to lead you to despair and it's going to confuse you. And so maybe he would say that to this, like, okay, George and Mary are just acting emotionally. Like that's also not good.
Yeah, and it's distracting him from the bigger picture, his real goals and his real ambitions of going out. Okay, let's actually focus on this for a little bit because I don't want to dismiss that too quickly. Dante's friend has a point. Yeah, in this. Like you could say, like, we're looking at this as a positive thing. He chose love. He's miserable for his entire life. Not his entire life. He's miserable for a lot of his life. He's like always bitter about it. We're assuming he made the right choice. And it was like grace and providence that brought him to this right decision. How are you so quick to make that observation or that conclusion that he actually did what was right?
Well, I think the movie is it's a metaphor, right? So it's you're choosing between either the personal success and ambitions over a family life in love. And not just a family life in love, but what he is called to by God's providence. Because I think it's so obvious. The whole film shows God's providence. And even at the beginning, it's a spiritual thing. When you start with angels in talking about, it's God's providence. Whenever you look at the ending and you see how George was meant to stay at Bedford Falls. Otherwise, it would not have been Bedford Falls. Like
that's God's plan. And he had all these plans.
Yeah. And George knew that was the truth. And it was pretty self-evident. But
and it was such an honest struggle. Because you have your plans and you really want them. And sometimes you feel that, like, that pull that God might have, or
your conscience.
Feel it. Yeah. And I mean, like, that's what discerning must feel like for people maybe being called to the priesthood or something like that.
Yeah.
I would imagine it's like, that's what is being asked of you. And you're like, yeah, but I want this. Why shouldn't you just want that, though? I mean,
it's counterintuitive because in the moment, George is so sure that those buildings are going to fulfill him.
Yeah, and they might have, though.
No, they wouldn't have.
Because that's not God's will, at least metaphorically in this movie.
No, because he's prioritizing that over love. I mean, not to say anything against building buildings, of course,
but it comes below.
Or your career or your ambitions. That's all good and important, but it has to be rightly ordered.
Yeah.
So you're first called to love, and you're called to. Most people are called to a vocation of marriage, but maybe not everyone. You can get into exceptions.
Sure, but him in this case was, and he did right, and he, throughout the movie though, quote unquote, suffered the consequences of that choice though. Like, and we'll get to this heartbreaking scene later down when he's like, why did we have to have all these children? Why did we have... Like, he was very upset at his state in life.
Yeah.
But it was still the right choice is what we're claiming. I guess I'm struggling to see why are we claiming that this is the right choice? Because I would agree with you.
I think there's two things. There's multiple things. There's more than two things.
Yeah.
For one, you can be wrong. You can be mistaken. George was mistaken. He, like we mentioned earlier,
with his desires.
Yeah, he had a very immature view of he didn't even know what he wanted.
Yeah, what are you going to do with the moon?
Ultimately, he was not going to be fulfilled by it, right?
Despicable totally stole that by
So that's one. You can be wrong. But there's some others. I guess the other one is just interpreting the signs. Michael Knowles had the speech that we talked about like a month ago, commencement speech. Don't change the world. That's what he called it. And it's talking on this specifically because George has this idea that he has to do something in the world. He has to change it. He has to do something big. And I think that, people are called to big things, but some people aren't. And I think you can make the case that George was not called to, based on the providence and just all of the signs, the interpretation that he would have made if he had been trying to interpret the signs.
It goes further than that, Howie. You just said not everyone is called to big things, but he had that conversation with his dad at the dinner scene. He's like, I want to do something important. And his dad says, well, George, this is something important.
I go crazy. I want to do something big and something important.
You know, George, I feel that in a small way we're doing something important.
In our shabby little office.
In our shabby little office.
The humility of it. And you know, you could argue that it is more important because he was sustaining that community from being subject to Potter and the slums that he had. Whereas if George had gone and built a bridge, yeah, he would have helped people just like drive through it. But then they drive through it and it's like...
And they go to the slums that Potter had. There still needs to be that hero, even if it's not it's kind of a thankless job, you know, but someone has to do it. And that's his role.
Yeah.
He just didn't want that role, but he has it and he takes it willingly and is just a little bitter about it.
And the truth is that role is ultimately... because you're acting in congruence, in accordance with God's will, right? That's ultimately what's going to make you the happiest because it's the truth about yourself.
The truth. That's exactly right. So there's the first sign that this movie is going to delve into some really deep metaphysical truths is he saves the physician from giving poison to this kid or this family or whatever. In the next scene, he's grown up now. He wants a suitcase this big. And There's a really cool shot. And it's like what you do comes back to you in a good way. There's people looking out for you.
Oh yeah,
he gets a suitcase with his own name, and like he doesn't even. I mean, he appreciates it, but that is the whole movie set up in one scene. He did something good. He might not see it, but then he gets like the community's help back. Like there's the metaphysical truth that like you're on the right path. You might be doing something that you're sacrificing for in the moment, and even when you're struggling and you can't afford the big suitcase, like the town will come in and pitch in, kind of.
Yeah,
it kind of went over my head, but like that's the whole movie right there in that one little scene.
And even if you don't see the benefits of it in this life, which is kind of a hard thing to wrap your head around.
He didn't use the suitcase. He didn't use the suitcase.
Oh, yeah. But what I meant was...
Sorry.
What I meant was the benefit of helping Mr. Gower.
Yeah.
Maybe Mr. Gower wouldn't have given him, in this example, the suitcase. But... There would have been George would have grown in virtue, and he would have just living out a life with virtue is going to fill you with a peace and delight in living in such a way that is its own benefit.
Yeah, I'm not saying that every time you do something good it'll come back to you in a physical manifestation of it. What I'm saying is it's pointing at least to that metaphysical truth that it does go rewarded. Maybe not physically, maybe just you grow in virtue, and that's plenty, you know. But it's showing that,
or after death, you know.
Yeah. I do want to talk about every scene. There's so many good scenes.
Well, we were talking about Cavalcanti, and
yes, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because this was a good conversation. He was saying about against emotions, the danger of emotions. You know, George and Mary, didn't they act emotionally? Like, shouldn't they have thought about it before they... Because whenever George made that decision to kiss her, you know, those were different times. People in those times understood marriage, and he knew what was going to happen if he wanted to, you know.
But they didn't even show the relationship after that. It's just a case, and then the next scene,
it's just like obvious, like, oh yeah, obviously they're getting married. Like he sealed the fate of his ending his dreams with that kiss.
And that's why he was like struggling so much with that. He was like almost cursing. He was like, don't make me do this, woman. I'm falling in love with you and I don't want to. I'm going that way.
Yeah.
And he like gets drawn in. Oh, that's such a good scene.
It's
that's
the power of beauty and love. And it's that because in Cavalcanti, again, he's saying these things. What does Dante say back? No, you're stupid. Like, you are just grasping at the beauty. The problem is when you grasp at it, you're supposed to just let yourself open up yourself to it. Aquinas talks about two types of emotions. One of them are good and the others are bad. The antecedent emotions are the ones that are not good, and the consequent emotions are good. So he defines the antecedent ones as the ones that just come before judgment of reason. So you just feel an emotion, whether it's anger or whatever emotion, before you even process or judge whether it's an appropriate response to a stimuli.
It's bad emotion. You shouldn't even be having.
You can have them. You just shouldn't pay attention to them. And the more you grow in virtue, the less you become affected by them. then the consequent emotions are the ones that come after judgment of reason.
Yeah.
So then maybe you might say, wasn't that an antecedent emotion? No, that was the whole point. That George knew the truth. He knew it was well-founded. That's why he didn't want to do it. So it was a consequent. You should take delight in beauty and emotions whenever they're rightly ordered.
And we'll see different examples of him having those bad emotions later when they're maybe not based on reality.
Right. Yeah, the despair. Yeah, grace perfects nature. So the emotions are good. They just need to be rightly ordered.
Is there something to the fact that her name was Mary? Or is it just that all women back then were named Mary?
Both, maybe. Okay. There's meaning in everything. Everything has...
I love her. That's such a good character.
You know what's funny about that, Mary? George's mom has this line whenever he's trying to convince him to go to Mary's. She tells him, "Nice girl, Mary." And then she says, "The type that'll help you find the answers."
Stop.
You take that out of context. It's like, yeah, that's true. About Our Lady.
Oh, yeah.
About Our Lady.
Whoa.
Nice girl, Mary. Yeah, she's... Oh man, we've just vomited a whole bunch of...
Can we keep vomiting?
Different ideas and random insights about it.
You were born older.
You were born older, George.
You remember that line?
Yeah, his dad told him that.
That's like my favorite line. It hit me like a truck.
You were born older. Yeah, that relates to you perfectly.
Like the whole movie, I kept like... Not to say that I saw myself in George a lot. Because I'm sure every man sees himself in George to some degree or another, where he's like choosing his passions over some other thing, or choosing his responsibilities over his passions. But like his sense of duty and responsibility towards his dad's business, and his responsibility winning and choosing to stay when he has this soul of an adventurer. He never actually left Bedford Falls. No, but he didn't. Not only that, he didn't leave. He never actually left. Like set foot outside. Imagine never leaving Houston. Like never leaving for like a little bit. Having that desire to travel and live far. Like he never actually got to do any of that. And that was like his dream from a kid. Like it's not just like a little passion. It's like that's what he wanted from his life.
Yeah.
And it just never happened. Like I can't even blame him for all the bitterness that he might have shown. And he is such a flawed character. He really is, because he shouldn't have let himself be resentful. But he did, and it's very normal, and we all would have been, to some degree or another. So I do hesitate to judge him too harshly, but that's why I don't like that second half of the movie, because it's like that's my worst fear, and like taking the responsibility that's entrusted upon you, that you chose to do, and that you were right to choose, and being resentful of it. And it is about perspective, because this is something really, really deep that I just got on the drive over. He prayed to God in the bar.
I'm not a praying man, but...
He's not a praying man, but he prayed.
Yeah.
God fixed none of his problems, but he ended up with a wonderful life. What did he do? Like, what was God's answer? It's just like, look at be grateful for the gifts that you already have. Like, open your eyes to the blessings around you. Change your perspective, and realize the gifts that you've given. Not that God couldn't have fixed his problems. But he just sent someone else for him to help. In fact, the angel, he doesn't actually save him from drowning. He just jumps in and uses George's own good nature to save himself out of it. Like, I love that line. It's like, oh, I jumped in to save you. Like, he even used George's good nature to save George.
Yeah.
So that was so funny to me. That like it's God, and it's within prayer that you're able to at least look outside of yourself, look at all the blessings, look like at what life would have been without you actually taking on that responsibility that will get you out of that despair.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, it wasn't a tangible thing that God did for
nothing changed
for George. It was just a perspective shift, and that's a grace. So it's like very, drawn out in the film, like with this elaborate scheme of Clarence will come down. But a lot of times you'll pray and you'll just see things differently, and that's a grace.
Well, this is what the movie's getting at. It's not like the metaphysical truth is that if you pray, and God grants you the grace, which is the angel coming. You can look at things differently and see of course, like this is taking it into a movie in which an angel actually comes down and grants you these visions. But that's what prayer does. It opens your mind to these visions of being able to see life outside of you, like just getting yourself outside of yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what prayer can do.
You come outside of yourself. It's an act of humility too.
When you pray, yeah.
prayer is an act of humility. You're kneeling before God, right? You're in a posture of humility.
Hopefully not at a bar drunk.
You fold your hands together. That's a symbol of humility. And humility is such a big part of the film. The fact that at that moment, so you say God loves the humble. He grants the humble their he hears their prayers more than the proud. He resists the proud. That's what he said. What he said, I guess. I don't know where I got that from, but George was kind of a prideful man, which is counterintuitive because it doesn't seem that way, because he's always surrendering, giving up his own ambitions for others. But it's kind of a more subtle form of pride. It's the pride of... So I looked into it, and there's a subtle form of pride that happens whenever there's two kind of things that lead to this form of pride. It's vanity, which is counterintuitive because you're trying to appear humble to others for your own sake so that you look humble. So that's counterintuitively a form of pride.
Of course.
And the other one is fear. It applies to George because it's his fear of knowing the gifts and the blessings that he has, because then he's going to have to put them at the service of the people in his community. So it's a fear of accepting that. So that's because humility is defined, Aquinas defines humility as truth, knowing the truth about yourself. So George didn't know the truth about himself, the fact that the impact he had on his community.
And it wasn't until he actually opened himself up to it, and you open yourself up to truth by opening yourself up to God, by praying.
Because God is truth.
That's when you're able to open yourself up to humility.
Yeah. And so George wasn't humble because he didn't know the truth. He saw the truth whenever he saw all the people that he helped. So I thought that was interesting. Humility is such a powerful... In both moments that God answers his prayers in a way, like one for sending Clarence, and the second one is giving him his wish to come back to his normal life. Both of those moments he was praying in like his most vulnerable, powerless state of just pure humility. I thought that was nice. So, don't change the world.
Yeah, he is. He's just not trying. Like he's changing people's lives, people's worlds.
Don't change the world. So the whole the moon thing, that the lasso of the moon, just kind of your expression whenever I mention that, you're always so endeared by it.
Yeah, it's so cute. Yeah. I think it speaks to, like, at the end of the day, even though it's grandeur and it's like, what are you going to do with the moon? Yeah. It does show, like, he just wants, at the very, like, deep, like, part of him, he wants to give it to her. It's not for his own sake either. And maybe he wants all these big things and he doesn't know what to do with them. But he's like, I'll give it to you.
Yeah.
It's just
so
beautiful.
Yeah. You know, it's it's funny that you say that and have that kind of beautiful view of it, because I kind of went a different way with it. Yeah. That's kind of...
I remember like when you asked... Though, because I like what you said, though, because it's like, okay, yeah, that's cute and all, but what are you going to do with the moon?
Yeah, but I was going somewhere else just now with it too. Remember when earlier you mentioned what film I was reminded of, and then I told you I'll bring it up later. Yeah, I'll bring it up now because it's kind of funny. So the whole Lasso of the Moon kept reminding me of why is this reminding me? It was reminding me of something, and then I realized Despicable Me. We're gonna steal the moon.
Did you hear me mention Despicable Me in the middle of our conversation?
No.
I said it and then I looked at the camera because you ignored me.
No, I didn't.
I just said Despicable Me a few minutes ago. I was like, we're going to steal the moon. But I was interrupting you and I said it softly. Okay. Continue.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Despicable Me. Yeah, for sure. I've been waiting to... Yes.
You've been waiting to talk about
No, I said it. I didn't actually have any insights about it.
I was like so annoyed by the fact that I kept remembering this movie and just Gru's voice. And... I got to the point where I was like, okay, I'm going to look into this because maybe there's something. Bruno.
Really?
There is so much in this movie.
Like from It's a Wonderful Life?
No, it's similar, but it's so good. It's so profound.
Oh yeah.
It's so profound.
Whoa!
I looked into.
I'm just now remembering all of Despicable Me.
Do you mind if I walk through the plot points?
Oh my gosh!
Yeah. So it's crazy. It's crazy. No, I looked at it with a whole fresh set of eyes now because it starts with Vector. So Gru is the best villain of all time in the world, right? He holds the title and he's satisfied. He's happy in this state, right? And it starts with Vector, this new like fresh-faced villain who just came into the scene and he stole the Great Pyramid. So Gru's like pissed off. He's like, he claimed my title of the best villain, right?
Gotta steal something bigger.
Pause for effect.
Yeah, so he's like, I'm gonna steal the moon, right? I'm gonna outdo him. So he devises this plan, and he was gonna break into Vector's lair to steal the shrink ray gun thing to shrink the moon and then take it. It's so funny.
I love it. It's a good movie.
But he gets these orphans. He adopts these orphans to help him, right? Because they were
out of purely selfish desire to get in. Yeah,
because he wanted to have them sell the cookies to Vector, and then the cookie bots were gonna steal the shrink ray or something. I didn't watch it. I just looked at it like a summary of it.
Sure. I watched it recently, surprisingly. Actually.
But he starts to grow endeared to the girls, and he starts falling in love with them, and they're so sweet and pure and innocent.
Giving him good
And
purpose.
by the end of the film, he ends up giving up his dream.
Well, he has the moon in his hand. And he's like, what? I don't, what is this? I have a moon in my hand, and I lost the girls.
Yeah. I didn't remember that. But yeah, I basically, the gist that I got was that he chose the girls over his villain ambitions of the moon.
Yeah. So anyways, then he gives the moon to the big villain and rescues the girls. And
yeah.
It's beautiful. Beautiful movie.
It's this whole thing of what do you do when you have the moon? You don't have anything. He had something real and beautiful and true with the girls, and it was love. And he valued that more than...
So Despicable Me is what happens when you actually go and get the moon instead of love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you realize
you're the villain.
It's funny because in that film, he excels at being a villain, but you can look at it in anything.
Yeah,
people have different moons, their careers, there are many different things.
Yeah.
But really,
we've talked about this in the last like 3 videos with Whiplash and La La Land. It's like, what do you want? Do you want love, or do you want your moon to be the best drummer, to be an actress, to have your piano bar? It's like, what are you picking? Like, be careful with your choices.
Is there a right choice?
What?
Is there a right choice?
Yeah, and we've made the claim repeatedly that there is, and it's always love. And
but you can but I don't want people to misunderstand. We're not against following or
your
being
passions.
Ambitious or
yeah,
career.
but I like what you said about you need
to have it in its order.
Yeah, but in movies where it's made like a black or white decision, which in some cases it is, not in all cases, but in some cases you are deciding, I either stay with this girl here in my hometown, where I go and chase my ambitions, and in those cases we are kind of making the claim that it would be the incorrect choice to leave and pursue worldly desires.
Yeah, because movies are metaphors, and in that moment, Damien Chazelle was saying Ryan Gosling chose his art over love.
Yeah, and same with.
That's why it kind of bothers me with the whole Emma Stone, the fact that she actually did end up getting married, like she was able to get both. I thought the whole point of the film was that Damien Chazelle was saying
there's some truth to it, though.
One or the other.
There is some truth. It could be a metaphor in a movie, but it could be point to real life, and in real life, people can have both.
So you can say like, no, of course people can have both. I look at Tolkien, right? Like he, great author, of course. He wrote the
pretty good author, guys.
He wrote the Lord of the Rings, and but he was a family man, so it is possible to do both. My point was that La La Land, he was claiming they separated, so that's like the metaphor of choosing art over love.
Yeah, and then he kind of wrote himself an out like, well, you can have both.
He said logistically she was able to get married after. It's just kind of like undermines his.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think. You're gonna hate me for this.
You keep saying that whenever you talk about La La Land and Whiplash. You start with, you're gonna hate me with
this. I was about to say.
Don't say it.
Despicable Me is more metaphysically sound than La La Land. Dare I say a masterpiece? I'm sorry.
I don't even know how to respond.
It's so good. It's not made for children. That's a film for adults. The last scene, whenever he reads the bedtime story to the girl, do you remember that scene? I'm gonna read it to you. I wrote it down.
Did you really? You should have just watched the movie.
I'm going to.
Stop.
So you know how we talked about what should be your son's first movie?
You think it should be Despicable Me?
Despicable Me.
Wouldn't it teach him to be a villain? There was actually some some pushback to that one and Megamind coming out at the same time, featuring villains. Like, why are we putting the protagonist as a bad guy?
It's silly. It's funny. It's not. Those people need to touch grass.
This is so funny because last time we were talking about like being super critical of like what makes art good and why you shouldn't watch bad art.
But it's clearly a joke.
Yeah, I know.
Whenever it's a joke, it's irony. This poem. Oh no, it's not a poem. It's the bedtime story he wrote.
We're gonna read Despicable Me's bedtime story.
Is this profound? This is important. Pay attention.
It's not. Yes, I'm sorry.
One big unicorn, strong and free, thought he was happy as he could be. Then 3 little kittens came around, turned his life upside down. They made him laugh, they made him cry. He should have never said goodbye. And now he knows he could never part from these 3 little kittens that changed his heart. He said that story, and then he turned the lights off, had them go to bed, and then I watched this scene on YouTube, and then he saw them sleeping. He saw like the beauty of that moment. He went back and kissed each of them, and then the third one got up and hugged them.
Yeah, that's super sweet.
And that it got me. It just killed me. It's so good. That film, wow, that's cinema.
That's cinema. It was really good. And then now we're left with Minions and Minions sequels, and yeah, they should have stopped.
Yeah.
Good movie. There's more? Tell me more.
You can tell? Do I give you a face whenever I have more?
Yes. Oh, you do? Thank you. No. I'm like fishing for like my points, but if you have them in your mind, just...
Oh, I have one more.
Oh, I'm sure you have more than one.
I have one more that I thought about. It was the question of, are we made for love? How do we know that we are made for love? Because in It's a Wonderful Life, George, we're making the argument that he was right in choosing relationships and love and serving, giving himself for his community. But that's assuming that that is the right thing to do, which we know as Christians and Catholics, but maybe it can be worthwhile to talk about.
It is, especially because in the third video we did when we talked about goodness, we said that we all desire the good and we all seek it and we all do whatever we do because we think that's good. Mm-hmm. So, and whenever we do something that's not good, it's because deep down we think somewhere along that line of truths, there's something good here.
Just focus on the good of the action.
And I mean, if he was going to go build big buildings, he sees that as good because X, Y, and Z. But in this case, he was right when he picked this, and this he recognized this is the highest good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we there's some depth in here we can discuss.
Yeah, the highest good is to love, and well, that's what Christ said: "Love one another as I loved you." Christ was a carpenter, but this is kind of a funny aside. But he didn't just build things for us.
He also died for us.
But he was also our friend, and he called us to communion with himself, with other people around us. I think there's 3 ways of reasoning that I thought about the fact that we are made to love. The first one that I thought about was the TOB example, the theology of the body kind of way of looking at it, which I think is a very simple way of proving that we're made for love, because
for sure.
JP2 writes about it. He says, you don't have to have all these philosophical arguments to understand why we are made for love. Look at your own body. It doesn't make sense by itself. It's made to be given. It's made for love.
Or meant to be received for the woman.
Yeah. No, even given for both.
That's true.
Yeah. And that's a very simple way of seeing it. I like that. I think there's also other intuitive ways of...
So intuitive.
When you give yourself for people, you feel good. even with the TOB line of reason, it feels good to give yourself, but also it feels good to be charitable and to be kind with people, right? It's just that's why even people that aren't religious, do things for others, or altruistic, because it makes you feel good about yourself.
Okay, I was gonna ask you about this then. Assuming George saw this as the good, he kept sacrificing. He sacrificed for his brother, sacrificed for the physician, sacrificed for his dad in the community, fought against Potter, gave his honeymoon money to all the people to stay afloat. I wanted to talk about that scene because I love the wife in that scene. But he keeps giving of himself. And why, I guess, is the question. Is it because he feels good at the end? Is it because he feels responsible for it? He does it reluctantly, it seems like. But he's seeking the good still, and he is doing the good. But I think you're right, though. It must feed some sort of self.
No, in that moment, it doesn't feel good, obviously.
It could, though.
Sacrificing everything that he did. Well, in the deepest sense, it should.
And maybe it wasn't reflected within his own psyche. Like, he might not have been reflecting on it. And maybe that's what prayer did.
Exactly. The more you grow in virtue, the more delight you get out of acting in accordance with virtue. It's hard at first because you don't really get that sweetness from performing a virtuous act. But apparently, people that are really advanced in virtue take delight. That's why it's so hard for me to wrap my head around I sent you this video recently of how to grow in humiliation. The fact that saints love to be humiliated. It's hard to wrap my mind around that, but it's the growing in the virtue of humility makes you take delight in that. So maybe George just wasn't oriented. Yeah. Or he wasn't.
Yeah. And I think it's intuitive for us, not us, like people, humanity in general, not just us, that if you do what is right, you'll be happy. Mm-hmm. We kind of believe that. But he was doing what was right and he wasn't happy. I'm trying to get at his head, like, why wasn't that working for him? Like, why was he not happy? And I thought there's a saint, is it Saint Teresa Lisieux? That was, I don't want to say it was her if it wasn't her, but she's a saint, great person. Struggled publicly with, not publicly, but it was known that she was kind of depressed or struggled with feeling happy. Maybe it wasn't her. I would hate
Mother
to say
Teresa.
Was it her? Okay, Teresa. Is that not?
I think what we know about Mother Teresa is that she had a lot of spiritual dryness. Is that kind of what you're getting at?
I mean, so I guess I'm reading that as not being happy.
Oh, Teresa of Lisieux also on her deathbed was
maybe it was,
having doubts.
I don't know if it was one or the other. I guess what I'm getting at is you can do so much good and still not be quote unquote happy. Mm-hmm. And I'm not. Again, they might have been very joyous people and very happy and content. But I guess what I'm getting at is it might seem like there's a 1-to-1 correlation between doing good, you'll be happy. But I guess it's not always the case.
Yeah. Because we're talking about a different kind of happy. Like the way we define happy, it just depends how you define happy. If you're talking about feeling good, having nice, happy feelings, no. Doing the good is not going to give you those in the moment.
It doesn't have to, but it can.
It can, yeah.
It doesn't have to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it will ultimately be the thing that gives you joy and peace.
If you're able to recontextualize it and have the right perspective on it. Because before he prayed and before he opened himself up to the truth,
yes,
you could say, yeah, he might not have been feeling it, but he also deep down, he also didn't feel joy. Yeah. Like, it wasn't until he allowed himself the grace to be open to the truth of what he was doing that he felt any amount of joy for the life that he had.
With humility, seeing the truth about yourself. Yeah. You're seeing the truth about the good that you do.
Yeah.
It's funny that you block that out of yourself.
Because you only feel the bad feelings that come with it sometimes. Yeah. And that's all the missed opportunities. So friends that have lots of money and you missed out because they invited you back in the day and you didn't join them, and it could drive you to, I mean, look, if he hadn't, there's a split in the road that he could have taken, literally he could have thrown his life away. But in another sense, he could have kept on getting more bitter and more bitter. And in fact, in Breaking Bad, there's a scene at the very end that he's like, something about like, I'm not in the meth business, I'm in the empire business. Do you remember that scene?
Yes.
And he talks about like past investment that he had sold his stake in a large company for like 1 month of rent. Yeah. And everything that he'd been doing now kind of like makes sense. Like this is all just to try to get back. Like he's been so bitter about like feeling like he deserves the world. He's such a brilliant mind and he's a high school chemistry teacher. Like that level of resentment can keep causing you to sin and keep like driving you deeper down. And it wasn't until you turned yourself to God and allowed grace to be filled in your life that you can like recontextualize your own suffering and see the truth of the goodness that you're doing for other people.
Mm-hmm. And it's also not seeing the truth about himself, because yeah, maybe he was brilliant, but apparently not brilliant enough to not keep his position at the company.
Sure.
So it's still a lack of humility.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, 100%. That's actually a deep parallel between Walter White and George Bailey. Not in the sense that like he wanted greatness and he was just a high school chemistry teacher, just a high school chemistry teacher, as if that might not be enough. There's some good there in your shabby little office, you know, and when you're unable to see the good that you're doing for other people, you seek other ways of feeling grand, you know, powerful, and it can lead you to.
It's about perspective.
Yeah. Okay, that was my next thing. Is it all about perspective? Because I could see some criticism of this movie being like, what is this ending? Nothing changed. A day later, he's still going to be just as miserable because all the warm feelings will have faded. He'll still be in this crappy town that he doesn't want to be in. He'll still have lost $8,000. Granted, the town helped him out. But like, what changed? And I think it is just perspective.
That's everything, though.
Okay, so it is. It's just so it takes the nihilism away from life. Is it not too bold of us to say just think of the good things, just be happy? Like think of someone that's really depressed, and you're like, just see the goodness in it.
It's not just, you can't just discard a perspective shift as something trivial.
Yeah.
It's the truth. If you are aligned with the truth, that will save your life.
That's so powerful. Yeah. So. But this is also a very bold claim we're making. Like, we're kind of saying no one should be depressed. Not depressed in the terminal, psychological terminology.
No,
but like
to be clear, I didn't make that claim.
But like no one should be.
There's psychological.
Not what I meant. Yeah. Not what I meant. I meant like no one should be discontent with their life in the sense that like is it not. His life could have been worse. Let's say it had been worse, and it had been worse, and it had been worse, and he was like super sad and suffering. Is it still just about perspective? Like, I guess what I'm trying to say is like, how does this I could see a very bitter person in real life watching this movie, like a very sad person, like hates his life, be like, this is a horrible movie. It's just telling me to be happy instead. Like, how does this hit me? How is this supposed to hit me?
It's not telling you to be happy. It's telling you to open your eyes, which is everything. It's telling you to see the truth, which is everything. It's telling you to see the truth, which is God, which is everything. You can't go wrong when you're seeking truth, when you're with truth, when you're with God, when your eyes are open.
Yeah, and I think this is also a movie. It's not making the claim, we don't see the day after. It's not making the claim that he will just always be filled with feelings of happiness. But it is kind of making the claim that he has found the true joy in his life, which is the love that he has with his wife and his children.
Mm-hmm. And he's learned to see the truth about himself.
Yeah, because maybe I was overly reading into it that the movie was saying, just be happy instead, as if it's like just a choice to turn a switch into the perspective of like, okay, my life is pretty good. But it kind of seems that way. But I guess what we concluded right now was it's good. It's like, it's not guaranteeing happy feelings. It's just... see the blessings that you've given, take joy in them, see the love that you have in your life.
The truth will set you free.
The truth will set you free. There's this line, that's one of the last lines in the movie. No man is a failure who has friends. It was in the book. Yeah, Clarence wrote that. There's another quote in the film. Oh, is it the quote? Oh no, I have like my favorite quote, but it's not yours, I don't think. Okay. It's a very random. So then it's not that one. There's this scene wherever he's in the office building a loan, and in the background, it's way after his father's death. We see a picture of his father. It's a small detail. And then under it says a quote of his father. Did you see the quote? Yeah, I paused and I forgot what it was. I didn't write it down. It said, you can only take what you've given away, or something like that. Yeah.
You can see why George was kind of conditioned to be the way that he was, like father, like son. That's a huge thing.
Mm-hmm. No, my favorite quote that one I was referencing is the biggest man in town, like to my big brother.
The richest man in town.
He said the biggest though.
Are you sure?
The biggest. To my big brother.
No.
The richest. No,
He said
my big brother.
The richest man in town.
To my big brother George, the richest man in town.
Early in the film, Mr. Potter is referred to as the richest.
Mm-hmm.
Georgie talks about his father that way when he barges in and
you're the biggest man in town. Like, don't let him speak to you.
Yeah,
this
that's
way.
where I was going. But I love that quote. I don't know. I don't have any insights on it. Yeah, you're right. The ending scene has to be the best scene.
And then they start singing.
The brother comes.
And the brother's there. The contrast of Harry and George is interesting. Some people are called to greatness. Or I guess George was also called to greatness. It's just a more subtle form of greatness. I mean, even Harry told him, you're the richest man, not me.
Well, and also the angel shows him, without you, none of this would have been. Yeah. None of this would have happened. It's just it is humility. It is pride. He wanted to be recognized as, this big guy.
Yeah.
And he realized at the end he is.
He is, just in
a different way. In a shabby office. I love this scene. They're on the way to the honeymoon, about to leave town for the first time ever, married with a wife, in the taxi, headed out. And the taxi cab's like, don't look now, but there seems to be all the signs of a bank run. And they stop the car. He's heading out, he's looking out, and Mary says, like, no, don't go, George. Like, come on, we're almost there. Like, she's still kind of encouraging him not to go. It's like, come on, come with me. Don't take this responsibility. It's not your responsibility. And he goes back, not only for monetary gain, not only to keep his business alive, because he would have been happy to see the business be done, but to not let the people be only controlled by Potter. So he does it out of responsibility, not out of self gain. And the wife, even though she had told him not to, as soon as he made that decision, she follows, and she never she doesn't hesitate. She doesn't look begrudgingly at the fact that she has.
She was the one that offered the money.
She offers the money.
Yeah,
like she is now truly his wife. Like it's just perfect. It was such a perfect scene. I love that. I love that scene.
I liked how he said to all the people that were panicking in the building and loan when they were wanting their money back. He said, we can do this. We just have to stick together. It's the theme of community. We just have to help each other. That seems like we need to hear that more nowadays.
Yeah. This tied in. We hear a lot today about what does this affect you? This movie kind of fights against the idea of individual sin. That sin can be individual. That it only touches your life and not the lives of others. Not to claim that George would have been sinning in leaving or in doing X, Y, or Z, but it does kind of point to that, we are all connected in the web, and one's actions does correlate to the other. And in this case, it was his good actions that, branched out into other people's lives. But there is no such thing as individual sin. What happens in your own life, if it's sinful, you hear oh, don't worry about it. It's
someone's gonna pay for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's this is what I want to do. You don't have to worry about that. But that's not the case. It all. It's all connected. I guess it's all a community.
And nothing is. There's no secret sin either.
Oh well, yeah, not from God.
Well, even from everyone at the last judgment, everyone's gonna see everyone's things. We're all gonna know.
I love the romantic view of community that this movie has. It's waving around the cab driver and the policeman. I think it's such a small touch to make the town feel so small. Yeah. I love the world is really big, even bigger now with social media and the fact that you could go anywhere, see anyone, be in touch with anyone around the world. But we all still he wanted to leave, but there's something really beautiful about making your circle small, your town small. You could be in a big city or whatever, but try to make it smaller around yourself, So get to know your taxi driver or your the police officer. Maybe it doesn't apply today in the same way. Maybe it is a bit of a romantic view, but I go to the same two coffee shops and I know all the baristas' names.
Yeah.
And like you try to like make community in the places that you visit every day. Like you want to know, I don't go to the grocery store and know the people that like that are helping me out. But it would be really cool if it did. You know, you go to your local store and you know your people.
It's funny. It's a beautiful thing. Well, every time I see that's one of the things that makes it the nostalgia of it. Like I wish it was like that nowadays.
Yeah, I think we could do our best to make it like that. Like it's by making it smaller, by like having your little church community here and your little like, I mean, you go to work and I guess that shortens your circle, but it's like and I've always kind of, I've never been I guess I am now more, but I moved around a lot as a kid, from Mexico to here and then from one house to the next. And now I guess I'm really, really liking go to the same places. My in-laws go to the same restaurant after church like every time, and they know all the waiters and they know the owner of the restaurant, and it's like it's kind of really cool to know your people. Los Tios, it's in Sugar Land. But like that's so cool. Like, and it's not that their food is any better than the Mexican street down the road, but like that's where their people are.
And it's always nice to see.
Yeah, and they know
the friendly faces.
That's right, and they actually see other people that have the same thing. They have their That's what we need to get better at as Catholics. We go to mass and you don't even look at the person next to you. And to be fair, it's kind of not, because you shouldn't talk in the church. I guess that's not the main purpose of going to church.
No, you shouldn't talk.
But there's a big part about you are also trying to build community. Like we're not going to church by ourselves.
That's what Protestants are really good at.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and it is also. I used to go to this church, and the priest would be like, "Okay, now introduce yourself to the person next to you and the person behind you, and get their name, remember their name, pray for them." I would always cringe at that, but he was so right though. Like he's right.
No, but it's not right whenever it's forced. Whenever it's artificial.
No, but he's right about like he's trying to do what I'm saying that we should do. Yeah, and he's trying to force me into it. It's a little weird to be forced to do that.
I don't think in the mass itself.
Okay, you get my point.
Maybe,
though. Yeah.
But maybe after. Or I think maybe that's why, because for us,
but after you see people congregating around.
Yeah, but I mean, why Protestants might be better at the community thing. One of the reasons could be because we believe in the real presence, that He is here in the church. So you're less communal. Your whole attention has to be on that when you're inside of the church. Yeah.
That's why I love donuts and coffee after mass.
You love that? I never go. I sometimes like
whenever the churches have it. I haven't gone in a while, but like I used to look forward to that as a kid so much. It's because of the donuts. But like you go when you build community with your fellow Catholics. Yeah, it's cool.
Fellowship.
It's important, and I think that's what I loved about college, about Baylor, like having St. Peter's there, and I had like my Bible studies and my like some guy groups and discipleship and Exodus 90. Like you're trying to build community. Yeah, that's something the movie did really, really good at, like just showing the little. It's like it doesn't take much to do that in the movie. We've talked about all this morality in the movie, but like the actual artistic merits of the movie, of the dialogue, the acting, the set design, all the small choices in the dialogue. The screenplay is probably one of the top screenplays, and it's such an unconventional one too. Like the third act. I guess like by the end of the second act, you already saw the whole story. It's just except for the final scene. Like all the third act, there's nothing new plot wise. It's just character work.
That's true.
Yeah.
I think I'm good. Do you have any other thoughts?
Yeah, you're getting tired.
Yeah, you can tell. I've been kind of quiet for the past.
I can tell. Let's find a better way to end this now. We can cut to whatever.
I think I'm good. You don't think that's a good way to end it?